All right, here we go. Well,
here
we are. We're starting right now.
Oh!
My name is Mike Villegas, also known as Vegas. This is Area 67 Music Podcast. Today we have in the studio special guest Eric Evely. How do you Evely. And JonDoe. JonDoe is your DJ name, correct?
JonDoeTho1.
The one. And John Bearden.
Bearden.
See, I should have asked these questions before, but this is real.
We're
this
already
is live.
2 minutes in, and we already hit that 10-minute mark.
Government names, son. We're dropping
government names. Yeah.
Yes.
My social security number is...
Check my credit score. No.
All you hackers out there, we got some good information for you. We're here at Area 67 Studios today with our special guests, Eric and John, and we're just going to have some fun today, talk a little music, see where these guys are at these days during COVID. I know, Eric, you and I have a little relationship. We worked together at one point in time. I don't want people to think, when I said relationships, you kind of looked at me.
You got a little relationship.
We have a little relationship, right?
You mean that moonlit night was bullshit? What the
Well, I felt like it was a one-night stand, but if you're telling me it was more, then maybe our relationship is bigger than I thought.
The reach around was lovely, but jeez. Yeah, no, we worked together. We worked together at the place that shall not be named because I'm not too thrilled with that company anymore.
One spot.
That one spot. And you worked under me, and I'm shocked you still talk to me after that. So.
Yeah, you were one of my favorite guys there, though.
I did not pay him. I have not paid for any of this.
Yeah, he didn't pay me for any of this. So
I'm broke, so I can't afford that.
No, we had a good time up. And while I was there, I learned a little bit about you, and learned that you were into DJing for one,
yep.
And that you ran a record label.
Mm-hmm.
And are you a musician? Do you play guitar or any kind of instrument?
Do you play any instruments? That's
one thing I thought I'd seen you play around with a guitar a couple of times, but I wasn't sure if you're, an instrumentalist.
So I grew up as a classically trained musician.
Okay.
So I started on violin when I was 7.
That's right. Violin, that's right. I remember now.
And then from 7 to 18, I ended up learning how to play about 13 instruments. If you asked me to do any of them other than bass guitar right now, I couldn't to save my life. But at the same time, that's like when computers were starting to get affordable, and like my first music software was Cakewalk Home Studio with just music notation and MIDI output to an Alesis QSR rack, and started writing music that way. So I spent a lot of time learning those instruments, not so much to be like, oh, I'm going to be a guitar player or
right.
a bass player. It was like, okay, I want to see how these instruments work and they incorporate with each other. And, that's why I have a lot of the knowledge that I have now when it comes to composition and song layout and stuff like that. But, really about 97, 98 is like when I really dove into the whole computer world.
Okay.
And there's been no coming back from that. So
you're definitely like a synthy guy. You like synths and stuff like that?
Oh, I love synths. Love synths. Don't know how to work half of the ones I've ever owned in my entire life, and I've owned quite a few. But yeah, I love synths. Yeah. Something about that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, guitars are awesome, bass is awesome, drums, all that stuff. They have their place, but to sit there and have one thing and you twist a bunch of knobs, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I just made something completely different, or I can make something that sounds close to a guitar or a bass.
Right.
Is just incredible. So,
what led you into the DJing aspect of it?
Girls, money, and
The girls, the money, the fame,
The rock
and as you
and
can tell,
roll,
I have
man.
none of them.
That's what got you in.
man.
No, it's I've done a few like podcasts and stuff like that, and a couple of radio shows. So I might have told this story on another one, but that was years ago. But in all honesty, when I was 8 years old, anybody remember the show Fat Albert?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there at my grandma's house. She's babysitting me one summer, and I'm watching Fat Albert, and one of the characters was a DJ. And
Wow.
and I remember him. He picks up a record and he puts it down, and then the music starts playing, and he's doing the scratching thing. And I had a Frisbee that had ridges, and it looked like a record. And when you ran your fingernails over it, it actually sounded like record scratching. So ever since then, like I attribute me getting into DJing from Fat Albert.
Wow. Fat Albert. That's a new one.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that inspiration too often, I imagine.
No, and if there's any kids listening, you probably will never find Fat Albert online.
I think I was attracted to the drums through Fat Albert, to be honest with you. 'Cause you remember how he had the trash can drum kit and everything, and that's kind of how I really dug that, and I wanted to play drums eventually, and that's where I started.
Oh wow! So you guys had actual Fat Albert.
Dude, the moonlight walk on the beach was no joke, dude. It went to the soul, man.
That's some good stuff there. I mean,
yeah. And then just like through high school, like started going to like raves and warehouse parties and stuff, and like seeing like people DJing. I was like, okay, and that kind of like re-sparked that, and then just kind of ran with it from there. And, yeah,
that's cool.
So,
and John, how'd you get started in what you're doing, DJing? And do you play any instruments?
I used to play the piano.
Piano, cool.
I played the piano till I was, I don't know, probably like 11 or something like that. And I got into like got into DJing from another. I think I told this story before too, like the movie Beat Street.
Okay.
And when I was a kid, and when I seen like the DJ in that, like the breakdancing and all that stuff was one thing, but then hip hop, you know what I mean?
The culture kind of drew you in.
Yeah, that basically was it. And then after that, the electronic music part was going to parties, going to raves, and then, I think that like a majority of I think what I play is electronic. Everything's freaking electronic. So
right, yeah.
So, that's my inspiration.
Cool.
Bass.
Yeah, listening to your Twitches and watching some of your stuff online.
Yeah,
that's what sticks out to me the most. Like the clarity of the bass that you have coming through is really on point, man. I mean,
I really, really enjoy a lot of weird shit, but a lot of it includes a lot of bass. So
yeah.
I don't even like put myself in what is that I'm a hip hop DJ or I'm a this DJ, I'm a that DJ, but like as far as bass, like
that's your staple.
Yeah,
man, labels suck. Like when open format is the best term for him, and that's what I tell anybody who asks me about him. Because he's about the only person that I know that can sit there and go from like, a strip strip club to he could be a wedding DJ, a strip club DJ, a rave DJ, and then go to a heavy metal show, and he'll probably figure out some way to DJ that shit too. And
it's like a real open format DJ instead of like the actual, like an open format DJ, like that. What's considered, I feel. I don't want to dog anybody out there who's open format.
Yeah, we're not talking shit on anybody, by the way.
No, but like open format to some is like top 40 pop shit. Right. But like this is like beyond you're like, this is like really everything. You know what I mean? So
Right.
That's what I everything. I like everything.
Well, that kind of leads me into another question. It's like there's different types of DJing too, right? There's, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
because you have like a club DJ,
So
you have
a club DJ, you have a turntablist, you have club DJs, you have
The radio DJs.
you have radio DJs, you have computer DJs, and sync DJs. But if you can kind of harness, like, if you're really into DJing, and if you try to like harness at least one, or if you could be good at whatever.
right.
But there's different kind of DJs for
Yeah, I mean,
wedding DJs.
I noticed that there's an art to it, as far
Yes.
as like being in the club, how you control the crowd,
Yeah.
and how you really control the flow to the bar, and back onto the floor,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's a real art.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the music. It's like the music is important.
It's a business.
Yeah, but I mean, I learned this like from watching Jersey Shore, and Bar Rescue is another one. And it's like I never realized how I always thought it was just you're just playing records up there, and mixing the records, and that was an art in itself.
Yeah.
But to control the crowd and to notice when the crowd is getting too big in a certain area, and it's like, okay, we need to break this up, slow it down, get them to the bar. Kind
And
of back and forth kind of thing. There's ebb and flow to it.
There's a definite,
And that's still different from even like, anybody who listens to a lot of the electronic stuff. Like that's still like more like a bar environment or a club environment compared to say a festival DJ where, I mean, personally, I've never seen a festival DJ really do that a whole lot.
Well, festivals are as far
a whole
as
nother
You're just
breed.
trying to keep the
festival,
the hype
is
up, right?
The performance, the entertainment, at the focal point is the stage. The focal point is, and that's why with festival DJs, they're controlling. Their way of controlling is the. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
They're emceeing, and their
Right.
interaction with the crowd, the physical, the animated.
And they're still controlling the ebb and flow of the crowd.
Yeah,
too.
that's the control part of that. And then the clubs and bars and stuff, you're basically like, there is some animated and stuff like that, but then you still have like, if you're in a bottle service nightclub, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like sometimes, and I'm not naming any names, but it's like sometimes you're just there for the people, and then the way bottle service and all that business is going.
Right.
Like you're
just
you
kind
got
of
some guy that's like, yo, I need you to play so and so song. He's spending like freaking $30,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a big aspect. That's the money part.
Right.
So, there's a lot of factors that come into
Right, and it determines like how you want to be in the DJ world. It's like, do you want to be in a club all the time, or do you want to do festivals, or do you want to do raves, or do you want to do radio, or do you?
Yeah.
I mean, I know radio. It's not that term has been kind of skewed over the years, because radio DJ is the guy who talks and plays records, but it's not the same. It's an art in itself, obviously.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is more performance art.
Yeah, performance. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I viewed it. So how did you guys link up?
What was it? Was it
90? Wait, yeah, because I hadn't hit my 21st birthday yet. So 90.
Metropolis?
Yeah. Metropolis in the Flats.
Metropolis.
1999, 2000.
Yeah. Metropolis.
So you guys kind of met up there, and then kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like every Sunday.
Called the church.
The church was like was like weekly.
So
There's a lot of us that live there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Basically, every Sunday.
yeah.
Right.
So for anybody who's not familiar with what Metropolis, or it was a trilogy or whatever it turned into after that, and then it became Metropolis.
Oh, the
again.
kids.
The kids.
Sorry.
So everybody's like, oh, I'm going to the club. And like a lot of places that are, if they were open now, that are out there, like 300 people is a big deal.
Right.
Their maximum capacity was 2,500.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there was very few Sundays. Honestly, I think the weirdest time was like right after 9/11 was the only time I had ever been there on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Where there wasn't at least 2,000 people in this building, 3 rooms, 2 floors.
It was considered, so as far as like now, like all these micro nightclubs or whatever.
Yeah.
Like for what now standards, it would probably be like a mega club compared. Like back then, there'd be people. So because we live in Cleveland, so if you can come here from, I would meet people from New York, Detroit,
Florida,
everywhere. This would be the spot to go to. Like it was basically one of the biggest nightclubs in Cleveland, and I probably as it not being there anymore is the biggest. It was the biggest area of space for people to come to. So we had that. We got to see that.
Well, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Cleveland kind of was a destination spot for that. For that scene.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I mean, before the Rave Act and before all the, there was those big things that we were able to experience those things.
Yeah, because there were festivals still. I mean, you had stuff like Burning Man and things like that going on too, but not to the level that it is now, where you got kids fresh in high school talking about going to Electric Forest and all these other places. Yeah. And those are, don't get me wrong, I wanted to go to Electric Forest a couple years ago because 3 of my favorite groups were going to be there simultaneously.
Right.
I just couldn't, but that didn't exist back then. Like
that was before festivals.
Yeah, like going to Burning Man. If you went to Burning Man that was like insane. Now it's like
that's on everybody's to-do list every year.
It's not even a to-do list. It's more like just like what am I going to do this summer? It's like
almost like Warped Tour in a way. You know that it's happening and that you can go and do it. You know what I'm saying? It used to be a lot more special.
Yeah.
And
now it's more the machine.
It's machine. Yeah. I think a lot of things.
Everything's the machine.
Yeah, everything kind of grows into the machine.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Yeah.
So.
But at least you guys got to experience the foundation of it all.
Yeah,
Be part of the legacy of it all and where it came from and where it started from. I mean, DJing obviously started a lot, probably even before you guys started.
Oh yeah.
Back in the, I want to say 70s.
Yeah.
I want to.
Cool Herc.
Cool Herc, is that? So I mean, there's there's those kind of DJs back then where I remember listening to like Run DMC and stuff back when I was a kid growing up in the 80s and
Jam Master
Jay and hearing people talk about DJs like, oh, they're not real musicians, they're just spinning records, but how it's evolved from then to now where they've like all right, we're going to show you like this is a skill, this is an art, and it's cool to see how it's evolved even in the 90s when like Limp Bizkit was using DJs and their music and
Funkmaster Flex. With those radio.
Yep. So you can kind of see the evolution of it. But you're right. We're at a point right now in 2020 where it's just another part of the machine in the music business.
And the machine is broken right now.
The machine is real broke right now.
Yeah, the machine is broke.
Absolutely broke. But you guys have had a chance to do some pretty cool things up until then. I mean, I know one of the cool things that you did was work with Shaq on a number of things.
That was fun.
So how did that come about? Was that a result of the scene that was created here?
So I met him originally at one spot. I'm not gonna name it. I can't name any names. But I met him I did a show where
We've
I was
named
the
like 10 different places.
No strip club names, but
so I'm not gonna name. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'll plug them because those are the homies. But I was doing a show and Machine Gun Kelly was there, so I guess I was supposed to. I don't know. They were like, "You're gonna DJ for Machine Gun Kelly," so he came, he performed. I was DJing for him, and then Shaq showed up, and like right behind me, and he jumped on the mic. So I basically was like DJing for both of them.
Right.
And then that night was crazy, and then it was. So that night was crazy, and then I got a call the next day from somebody, and they said, "Do you want to do this private party?" And I said, "Yeah." So then it was at a spot in downtown. And I'm not gonna name any names, but it was a TNT. It was a
Redacted.
TNT. It was a TNT private party / whatever.
Right.
So went there, start DJing that night, and there was a bunch of, it was TNT. So it was Charles Barkley. It was
all those guys. Kenny Smith,
Ron Allen, right?
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen. Ray Allen, Shaq, and a bunch of NBA people. And this was the time also when the Cavs were. Was it? This is before they won, but they were in the playoffs.
Right.
So I did this party. All these basketball people were there. At the end of the night, Shaq, came up and he was like, "I really like your music, all your stuff." So that's how we met. Met. We met a night before.
Right.
But then we met musically.
Right.
He was jumping back into DJing, and we met and that was it.
That's cool.
But there was a few times I would travel and kick it with those guys and DJ, but I think at the time I was doing I was DJing 5-6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going hard with everything, and I don't know that there was a point where they were like, "Yo, you guys, do you want to do some stuff 30 days, 45 days?" And I have kids.
Right.
So I made the decision to stay home.
I feel you.
And but yeah, that whole thing with Shaq was cool. Got to go to Vegas, Miami, travel around, do a lot of cool shit. Free food. A lot of lights, a lot of cameras flashing.
Yeah.
That whole.
That's gotta be cool to get to experience that.
Yeah, it was crazy because you don't notice it. On the outside looking in, you don't notice it. As a fan, but being there, when you're walking around with freaking
Shaq?
athlete, Shaq. You're
You kept saying his name.
This is great. This is crazy.
We already said his name 10 times.
Yeah. So
We just can't name any places
Yeah. No places.
other than Vegas.
No,
and Miami.
but that's cool.
Vegas and Miami, yeah.
It's
So-
the one cool thing that you can say about music is it breaks down barriers between
It
people.
breaks down barriers, yeah, and it breaks the ice with a lot of people that didn't think, you know what I mean, and
Yeah, it's got to be kind of cool instead of you would want to go up and talk to him.
Yeah.
But instead, he respects what you do and
Yeah.
acknowledges it. And it's cool that he's like, look, I'm going to put all this shit away and just come up to you man on man and be like, hey, I like what you do, blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
And
I really got to that whole starstruck thing, and then I also working in nightclubs and see, a lot of times seeing celebrities, after a while it's these are people.
yeah. No, they really are.
They're people. At the end of the day, they're just.
I've gotten a chance to meet quite a few musicians
Yeah.
working in the studio and doing some stuff with some larger artists. And I remember doing a record with, damn it.
Can't name any names.
Yeah, I can't name any names.
Limp Bizkit.
Singer Michael Graves. Michael Graves, the singer from the Misfits.
Yeah.
And I was working on his record, and Chris Motionless from Motionless in White came in to do a guest spot on the vocals.
Yeah.
On one of the records, and Chris was like a huge star at the time.
Yeah.
Where not a lot of people know who Michael Graves is unless you're a Misfits fan. And he was fanboying like crazy with Michael Graves, and it's just kind of cool just sitting back watching that. But after you've been exposed to a number of artists and stars and stuff like that, you're right. It's you realize that they don't even like the starstruck type of thing. They just want to be approached like a regular person and be talked to just on a regular basis because everybody's approaching them. Like, hey man, you're Shaq. Oh my God,
are you a stalker or are you?
Or what do you want from me? It's always something like that. But when you're in a kind of a mutual space. There's not any expectations, and music does that.
Music is like the music and. Music, movies, that's like, if that's the common thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome.
Eric, over there, hanging out.
Yeah.
So you guys linked up, obviously, and started doing projects together and working together on different things. How did that kind of get involved?
What was it called? The first project? The first thing we were working on? What's the name of it?
Are you talking about the thing that we did at Wish where we started a mosh pit?
No, what was the name of it? Yeah, I remember that, but like the name of like that whole thing, that whole time.
Oh my God, I forgot. At that time, like I had been getting into production and I thought I was hot shit. And
we all do at some point. Then we get put back down to our level.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I forget the name of it. I'll have to look for a flyer. I still have the flyer for it.
It started with an I.
Oh, dude, do you remember?
It's in my data bank, but I can't. I can't pull it up right now.
Yeah. But we did a couple shows where
I was like scratching, and he was his production and me scratching.
Yeah, and at the time, it's like the highlight of that was there was a club called Wish.
Oh yeah,
and it was a 3-level club down on West 6th?
West 6th, yeah. But yeah, right not on West 6th, but it's off of West 6th. It's right there though.
Yeah, and Wish was a cool club, but it was kind of more like an upscale crowd.
Okay.
And I had done a couple tracks and a couple remixes, and John was, there scratching, and we're on the top floor, and floor only held like 200 people, and my closing track was a mashup remix I did of Korn to drum and bass, and he's scratching. There's girls in miniskirts like hitting each other, having a mosh pit on this upscale nightclub in Wish. My headphones broke. I got pissed off at that, threw them into the crowd, started yelling it was the last song, go nuts. I think you broke a couple records and threw them into the crowd.
I don't know.
We were lit.
Yeah, we were.
So
I don't know what kind of
that was
alcoholic beverages or whatever was going on. It was pretty.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was nuts. So that was like the first thing.
So you guys were like, "This is fun. I want to do this together."
Yeah. But then there was there was a, I kind of dipped out of the scene for a while after that because some things happened that I didn't agree with. Like I left Metropolis and kind of put DJing on the back burner to do other things, and really it was 8-9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago we linked back up, and then and then started doing stuff again, and then John got into production and started helping him with that, and now he's writing his
making
own
loops. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
You make beats? No, I make loops, son.
So I mean, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of people don't realize what goes into DJing. So when you say you do production and there's a production value to DJing, it's not all about just pulling records and putting them on.
Yeah.
It's about transitions. It's making loops, beats. Which
I think that being the producer and so the DJ playing their music and all that stuff is, that's fun. But then the being able to like actually make something and then turn around and be like, you know what? I'm gonna play this. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of DJs that might get some shit for this, but there's a lot of DJs that they want to be DJs, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with it, but also at the same time, it's almost like when you get to a point where you're DJing and you're like, you know what? I want to make my own stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then the other way around, like I want to make my own stuff. And then I want to become a DJ. Like it's like
right.
The vice versa thing. It's and
there's
two worlds. Like there's the producer world and then there's the DJ world. So,
See, I never even thought this is new to me.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because I never even thought that there was a about the production side, and it just never occurred to me that like I'm over here banging out beats, he's banging out beats and stuff for artists, but never thought about how like maybe some of those loops might work for a DJ. You know what I'm saying? And or how that you guys were even incorporated. Because I hear stuff like when you were doing we watched the 2-hour set that you did on Twitch.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool music that I recognized, but there was also a lot of stuff that I didn't recognize that was really dope. And I'm like, wow, that was the production that we're hearing.
Production value. Yeah. So like even now, like when somebody's like, hey man, do you write music? or like they're like, hey man, do you like, so it's like, do you DJ or you write music? Or obviously like the most common.
And it's weird too, because like now, especially like at the advent of like online platforms and online streaming and podcast and Twitch and things like that, it's no longer just like
you're not trying to break out anymore.
It's no longer like back in '98. It's like you showed up with the record crate like you were a DJ,
right,
and that was, that was kind of like the badge of honor type thing or whatever. And then it turned into, well, now I got into production and you're doing that type of stuff. And then the big thing was trying to get it onto vinyl and be like, that's my record. To now it's like, okay, well, now, I'm making CDs and I'm DJing with CDs because the technology changed.
Right.
So DJing changed. So it made it a little bit easier. And then software became more accessible. So now it's like, okay, now everybody can be a producer or a DJ. With controllers, and it's the whole now compared to what it was then, those lines are almost completely blurred.
Right.
Like you're not. I mean, there are people who are strictly just DJs out there still, and awesome, but like you still have people like even like Qbert is a good example.
Yeah.
He's one of the best, if not the best, scratch DJs on the planet. I didn't even know this until really 5 years ago that he produces.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like now you kind of have to be.
Yeah. You have to wear a number of hats.
Yeah, to do that type of thing. And then you got to be like John and get psychotic with video loops so you can do stuff on your Twitch stream.
I look at things now where it's like whatever. So
is this live, by the way? No, you're recording, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
If you wanted to be a DJ nowadays, the entrance he was just talking about the entrance level or producer. The entrance level is it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it's easy.
It's easy to get started into.
We got YouTube. We got all these things to learn from, but also at the same time, like as far as even production, DJing, like what he's talking about with the video loops, like what makes you stand out? Right. Because there's tons and tons and tons. There's billions and billions. I'll use the word billions and billions of DJs, billions and billions of producers. But what's gonna make you stand out? So it's like nowadays it's like we have all these platforms that we could use that are at our disposal. So like, what am I gonna do to be different than,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, and now as far as you're just talking about the hats, like, yeah, you gotta. I mean, you know, if you're building a brand, you know, you have to wear tons of hats to freaking push that brand.
Yeah.
And then the whole machine, like.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and that's where we're at in this day and age. It's like everybody understands now that you have to be a brand.
Yeah.
And whatever your niche is.
Isn't it crazy though? Like, so the question is, you know, back when we were younger, what's your name?
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's what's your brand?
What's your name brand?
Yeah. Nobody wants, like, what's your Twitch handle? They don't even ask. Like, they want to know where where they can find you, because they want to see if you're, like, you could be standing right in front of me. You can ask me all these same questions, but no, I'd rather find out from watching
now that's the communication part of it is, instead of asking your name, it's like, what's your app?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's your app, and what's your value, really?
Yeah,
to why should I even come see you?
Yeah.
And what do you bring to?
What's
your value, man?
Scared the crap out of me walking out of there.
And it's a crazy thing, but that's just like, I think me and a buddy of mine, we were talking the other day about, like, so if you're born in like 2000 and
you're a baby,
you're freaking 5 years old and 6 years old, 7 years old, and you're what raised you is the internet,
right?
You know what I mean? But as far as like being as far as like the I think the older generation is like before pre-internet and all that stuff, like we got to go out more, like outside. Yeah, outside the house.
Yeah.
But like, with this generation, like, you can't, I mean, it's like we can't hate on them because this is what they were born into.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
All this technology.
Just arrived.
Oh, mine did? Nice. Awesome.
So, I don't know. I'm just babbling now.
Well, I mean, let's kind of get into the tech side of this a little bit. I mean, you're saying, that the entry to DJing or producing music is much easier than it has ever been in the past. And you're right. Yeah. You're like, there's kids that know nothing more than the internet. They've grown up with an iPad in their hands from the day that they were babies. And there was a point where I was teaching, and I was getting requests for DJ lessons. And I'm like, I'm not a DJ. I have no clue how to do that. But there's this one 13-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl came in, and she was already producing her own beats and wanting to take the next step and go into DJing. And I'm like, I don't even know what value I bring to you, because, you know what I'm saying? Because she was so far advanced with what she was doing on GarageBand with her iPad and the beats that she was making and how she was using it and everything. And I'm like, I want to break it down so that you understand why you did this and why you did that. They don't care because they're making the music immediately and it sounds how they want it to. They don't care what a compressor is and how and why to use the compressor or, all these things, because they put fancy little names on them.
Wait, you have to use a compressor?
Yeah, see? And you just drag and drop this little thing on your track and it makes it sound good all of a sudden. And
wait, these
VSTs? Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to guide her, and it made me have to step back and reevaluate how I'm approaching things. And there's a lot of kids that are, he teaches drums here. He's got how old is Kai? He's 8. Yeah. Kai is 8 years old.
He's a genius.
He's about this tall, and he's probably the best drummer that's in this whole school.
Yeah.
It's not that he's a genius, it's that he puts in the work.
Yeah.
Where the other kids are playing video games all the time, he's playing drums and he's a BMXer. He's one of the top BMXers in the state.
That's awesome.
But he's only 8 years old, and and it's cool because the parents are kind of pushing him to take advantage of your talents.
Yeah.
Not your video game talents.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different world. I mean, you're a parent, you know, I don't have kids. So.
It's a different, as far as it being like a dynamic now of your parents telling you to go to school and learn a trade or learn you're going to be a doctor or blah, blah, blah. Like with my kids, like, I'm not going to force them to do what we want them to do.
Right.
But also at the same time, like, if their interest is sparked with music, art, whatever, dancing, whatever, I mean, you got to let them, you know what I mean? Because
right.
you don't want to be...
To all the parents out there, trust your fucking kids.
Or let your kids... That's why you have these kids where, I mean, we were just talking about even the tech side.
Sorry, that was a subliminal jab at mine.
You can go to
Mine too.
you can go to YouTube University and
Yeah.
freaking learn all this stuff and be your
insane.
own, you know, entrepreneur as far as that goes.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool though. YouTube is kind of cool, and Facebook and all those places, because when I was 16, 17 years old, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do music. I've always known I wanted to do music, but my parents didn't support that.
I was like that until I was like 33. I was like, I have no idea I don't know where.
But now you got so many things available that you can see online. It kind of attracts you at a younger age to be like, okay, I'm attracted to that. Maybe that's what I want to pursue. And parents can adjust to that a little bit easier than, like, when I was growing up, it was like, I want to do music. It's like, well, how are you going to make any money? No, you're going to go to school, get a degree, and get a good job, and, you know, start a family. And like, no, I still want to do. It never took the music out of it. Never took the passion out of me. So you're right. For parents out there, trust your kids and what they're passionate about, because that may be the direction they're supposed to go in life. You know?
Yeah, I would try to explain it to my mom, and, you know, being from Filipino parents, and they want you to be a nurse or a doctor. I talked about this on another podcast. But, but honestly, I had no idea because I would tell people, like, you know, back in the day.
Dude, do we really know? I mean, what? I'm 40, you're 42. Do we still know what we want to do?
No, honestly, honestly, I mean, even when you're doing what you're doing, there's an itch where, like, maybe there's more out there for you to do. But, like, back in the day, like, if I told somebody I was a DJ, they'd look at me and be like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? That's not a real job, or that's not a, you know, you can't just, you know, you can't make a living doing that. But then I got to the point where, you know, a few years later, I'd be able to, like, actually, like, make a living.
Yeah.
And, you know, not have a job.
Right.
But I did the whole, you know, sometimes I feel like being safe and doing the conventional thing, or doing what we were programmed to do. And I use this all the time.
Take the red pill.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, you're told, like, when you get out of school, go to school, get a job,
get married, get a house,
get
the car,
build defense, all that shit, and
if you do, good for you.
Yeah, but also at the same time,
but does that make you happy?
Yeah, if it's not going to make you happy, then you're going to be the aggravated family, the family guy in the house, you know.
Yeah.
Thinking to yourself, like, I could have, you know, maybe I could have been a bass player. Or I could have been a drummer. You know what I mean? But the amazing thing that you guys are talking about with the 8-year-old, like, if he's 8 years old right now doing that, or if you're 13 years old and you're killing it, and, you know, when you're 25 years old, you're like, I did everything that I wanted to do. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of getting to that point where you're like 25 years old and you're like, I have no idea what my purpose is.
Yeah.
But at that same time, you can still do that and not have an issue with it. Like, it's never too late to start either. Like, I don't care what anybody says about that. You know, because
it's true.
Like,
it doesn't matter when you start.
Yeah, you know, like, it's never too late until you're dead to at least go back and give it a try.
Yeah. Right.
So
as long as you're living and breathing and able to move around, and you can still do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Or try at least. You know,
I picture myself as an old man, probably like trying
Too
to
late.
bang out. Older, like banging out on like a machine or something, or you know what I mean? Just at, like 80 years old, like I'm gonna try. You know what I mean? Like
no, I get you.
That's where we're at. You know, that's where
I mean,
we're.
I've always wanted to be a music producer.
Yeah.
I knew that at an early age. Like I was probably 5 or 6 years old when I
That's
knew
awesome.
this.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to get there.
Yeah.
You know, and I went a whole roundabout way to get here.
Yeah, yeah.
But I always knew I wanted to be have my own recording studio.
Yeah.
I didn't get it till I was 50.
Yeah.
I'm 53 now.
Yeah.
But I set a goal. It's like by the time I'm 50, I have to accomplish that goal of at least owning my recording studio. But it's
because that fits in your actual happiness plan.
It does. It really does. The hardest thing for me to do is break away from the regular grind that you're accustomed to.
Oh yeah.
Like I was accustomed to going to work and getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the hardest thing to break away from that and do this.
Yeah.
And that's why I was at for so long. When I hired on, I told Mike, I'm only here for part time, maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
It's tops is what I want to do. And he's like, well, we don't really, you're gonna have a hard time doing part time. And I'm like, okay, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'll go full time.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much that would pull me in and trap me in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Because in a way, I was happy because I was around music and surrounded by people who were into music, and so I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting my foot in the door in a way, but it was just another job. At the end of the day, if you strip all the music gear away, it was another job that I hated going to. And it got to a point where I would pull into the parking lot, and one day I actually started hyperventilating and broke down into tears. Had no idea. But it was because I was so unhappy with my life. And I realized that I was just stuck in a rut, and I wasn't getting to the studio part, which was my goal. But you guys brought up something interesting. It's like when we're growing up and we're told, be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. That's still general. That's really very general. You got to figure out what is it that you specialize in, kind of thing. Even, if you want to be an athlete, and like, what sport are you gonna,
what's your passion?
What's your passion? But you may not be good at that physically, so you might have to find something else that kind of makes you happy. But there's so many different areas.
I fought with it for years and years and years. Like, do I get a job? Okay, I got a job. Work 9 to 5, every day. I think there was one point where I was like, even putting it in form of like you're pushing a broom, and you're pushing a broom one day, and you're like, am I gonna really be doing this until I'm 65 years old? You know what I mean? Like, is this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life?
Essentially, because there's not much left.
When you think that, and you're like, will I have time left to actually like even experience life? Because and this is nothing. This is me not like dogging people who work 9 to 5 or do whatever.
There's nothing wrong with that stuff.
No,
you got to eat.
You got to eat. No, I'm not dogging. You got to eat, but also at the same time, like,
don't let it eat you.
Don't let. Yeah, I was battling it forever.
I'll get out of your head, John.
I was, and then I was DJing. I was trying to DJ and hold 2 jobs. You know what I mean? Like, I think I remember I was talking about this on another interview. I was like a pizza delivery dude at night, and then I was running a construction company in the daytime. Like, I would I'd have a job at like in Canton at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'd have to get up at like 4:30 to drive. You know what I mean? Get ready, drive, work until freaking 3, 4, maybe 5. Drive back home, turn around, be a pizza delivery dude at night. You know what I mean? Like, and then go DJ after that. Like, it's not like me fighting with it, but like, I really, really tried to like do everything, and
Yeah.
It taught me a lot.
Yeah, no, it really does. And I think those are a lot of lessons that the youth of today are going to miss out on because they're exposed to so much so early, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because then they don't have to go through the same struggles that we go through growing up. You know what I'm saying? So they have more options, more opportunities and stuff like that.
Yeah. But at the same,
they're missing out on.
They're missing, but there are certain things that they're missing out on. Like there's certain experiences. Like you do still meet like an 8-year-old drummer who's got drive. That's fantastic. But and this is where I will sound like I'm dogging people, and I don't give a fuck. There was a huge percentage of people out there who don't force. I don't want to say force, but don't make their kids experience some of this stuff. So you get this lackadaisical mentality too. So, you know, that's why I said it's important that if your kid's showing some type of amount of passion towards something, then frickin' do it. And you see it not just like in the music world, but like now you're seeing esports.
Expand on it.
Yeah. You know, it's across the board. It's like it used to be like, oh, well, you're just playing video games and wasting time. And now you got,
oh my God,
Akron's got a esports team, and other college campuses have esports teams now and stuff. And
dude, those dudes, even those what's his name? I'm not even gonna name it, but he's making like $100 million a year or something.
Yeah,
$100 million. Freaking
Ninja.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Doesn't he have a house of gamers and everything? There's one guy gamer that I watch, and I've seen his video of his house, and it's a gamer house where they train.
It's crazy.
People to like they have a Fortnite room.
Yeah.
And there's like 10 computers in there, and they got pros in there playing.
It's like a K-pop freaking factory.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. It's crazy, but
that's how it is. That's the industry that was. You know, it's you know. I keep saying this machine shit, but it's part of it.
It really is. I mean, it boils down to machines, which brings us to the tech part. Like so when I got into production, it was with Cakewalk back in the day, with an old computer that I knew nothing about computers. I just knew I wanted to record.
Cakewalk, it was Ableton.
No.
What, right? Or
so, okay, so...
Was that the beginning of...
So Cakewalk was one of the first programs, and, like, I mean, I had Home Studio 9, so it had been out for a few years even prior to me getting it.
Yeah.
And it had very basic capabilities. Like, it didn't have... Like, when you look at programs now, like Ableton, Fruity Loops, Logic, all these ones where you get like the piano roll.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like it didn't have a piano roll, it had a piano staff. And you picked a key signature, you picked a time signature, like you were doing notation. And because I was classically trained, it made sense to me because I'm like, okay, cool, I know this key, I know the drums are hitting at this time, and I'm doing my beats like that. So like I could, and I have printouts of my first songs I ever did where it's literal sheet music, but I was doing that, but I was still triggering the sounds to an old MIDI synthesizer.
Yeah.
And then I was routing that out of the headphone jack back into the mic input on my computer.
When was this?
This was like 98. I still have a CD of it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause you didn't have an interface.
No, the interfaces didn't exist.
It was just your mixer.
You had to like run shit into the run.
Yeah, and my first interface was like a Hercules gaming interface because it was the first thing, and this thing was like $400, and I was ecstatic because it had 2 RCA inputs and it had a MIDI in, out, and through. I'm like, well, this is fantastic. This is a game changer. And now it's
listen to this, kids.
Yeah,
interface.
Yeah, and you know, so like the technology is just astronomically the speed and that it's accelerated at is insane. Like to the point now, like how now, like you said, you had a girl show up with an iPad and GarageBand, and she's making incredible stuff. And you know, I mean, I'll be the first one to admit, like I was one of the first guys back in '98 to show up with a laptop and try using Tractor Live. like to DJ with. Like, I embraced technology because I knew it might not be that exact form, but over time it would only get better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I started diving into it as soon as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And, I played a show of original music and I was using Tractor. Didn't know what I was doing with it because I was pirated, but...
Tractor.
Yeah. But, I played a show like that, and it got to the point where up until a few years ago, I was showing up to gigs with an iPad.
Yeah.
Using an app and hooking it up with one of my thousands of MIDI controllers that I no longer own because I have a gear problem. And
you do have a gear problem.
yeah, no, I'm back to basics now. So, but just because of the fact that I got tired of, John's a little bit different because he's a turntablist and stuff. John would show up with 2 turntables, his mixer, a laptop, a hard drive, and all that stuff. And I'm not. And granted, that's the way he wants to play. Definitely not knocking it because I wish I could do a tenth of what he can do with a crossfader and a record. But, dude, I can't scratch for shit.
Lots of nerding out and
yeah. But
swearing off girls.
Yeah, there's a lot in your passion that you have to sacrifice.
Alone
a lot of alone time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of practicing that has to go on. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're going to be a doctor or an accountant or whatever. You got to practice at your craft, and that's the one thing I think it's cool.
Practicing
when you see.
is good, but breaks are even
more important.
Taking breaks are almost.
They're
more important
Yeah.
than the practicing, because the practice, you could do something 10 billion times, and if you're not getting it, like even making a track, and you're like, oh, I've been working on this these side chains or whatever, and for fucking 26 hours, you know what I mean? And it's you should have taken a break, 10 hours ago.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you definitely need breaks. Your ears definitely need a break. They need a stretch just like your legs and your arms do.
Yeah.
One thing I did retain from college was how to learn and how to retain information.
Yeah.
And it's learning in short spurts and then taking a break.
Yeah.
So it's like 15 to 30 minutes you study, then take like a 15, 20 minute break, then you come back, learn some more, because you retain way more.
What's that saying? Like, if you're working at it too long, you're... If you're working on it too long, then you shouldn't be working on it.
At all.
It takes
Yeah. So, what software are you guys using these days for production? Let's start with production.
Excellent.
Are you an Ableton guy over here, or what do you use?
My main DAW is Ableton. Yeah, pretty much. I do 99% of my work within Ableton. Occasionally, I'll crack open like FL Studio or Reason just to kind of like go through old files from years ago.
I remember last time we were talking. You like Reason as well. I
loved Reason for years just because of the functionality.
The cool synth sounds and stuff they have in them.
Like for what you got in the box, it was phenomenal. But when they did, I forget what version, when they did the workflow changes, you have to use what works for you.
Right.
And if something changes to the point where I can no longer work like that, then I will start looking for the next thing that is either similar or works that way, or I'm forced to keep doing that, which kind of goes back to the whole working on something for so long. I tried working with Reason for so long, and it just got too frustrating because I liked the simple interface, certain things, and they were still there, but I'm completely self-taught on almost all of the stuff that I use now. So at the time, there weren't like the YouTube videos and the resources to
right.
make it like that. So I couldn't figure out. So I moved on to Ableton, and I had Ableton for years, and it just never clicked until one day. I forget I think it was like the warp marker, like warping in Ableton. And I accidentally made a warp marker and moved it and realized, I'm like, oh my God, this is the one thing that made me not use Ableton for years. And I just figured it out. And now, you know, I'm not going to say I'm a complete beast with it, but I know enough to obviously be dangerous.
Well, from my experience with working with different DAWs, being exposed to different types of musicians, DJs and stuff like that, where I wasn't exposed to in the studio before. I started learning like what DAWs people would gravitate towards. So like I noticed more DJs would gravitate towards Ableton more than they would Logic or you know, Studio One or Pro Tools or anything. It's a different workflow and different environment that you're looking for. Where Ableton is, to me, I look at Ableton and I'm just like, what the hell am I looking at? Because everything is backwards. You know, things the workflow doesn't work for me. But I can see how it works really well for DJs. And how you can use the different clips on a track, so you can have a whole bunch of different clips. You can trigger those different clicks instead of having 85 different tracks of the same kind of loop, but different
performance.
Right? So I can see and then the lighting aspect that I didn't realize until I started working. We had the Ableton guys come in. I had no idea you could control lighting with Ableton. I didn't realize you could make apps in Ableton. You know, I mean, your own plugins.
You can do plugins. You can do chains.
So there's a lot of things that Ableton is really, really geared for live performance. Whether you're a musician, DJ, or whatever live performance, even if it's flow art, whatever, you know. That is, you can still use.
And it's not limited to the DJ world either, because there's still plenty of, you know, I've seen bands that go out and they're using Ableton, and like you said, like they're using Ableton to run their lighting show at certain cues, and they're doing visual work with that, or they're, you know, they might be like a 2-piece group, but then they're, you know, they wrote everything, but one person is singing and playing guitar, the other person is doing drum percussion, and then they're triggering all the other parts while they're doing that. So like the creative possibilities are endless with that, whereas opposed to something, and it's been a couple of years since I've looked at all of them, but when you look at things like Logic, Cubase, Studio One, they're more of a linear DAW. They're designed more so for the recording end, where Ableton was originally designed by DJs as a performance tool.
And then you got this.
And then it turned into this whole thing. And then you got, you know, and if you don't like the way Ableton works, then you got Bitwig, which is pretty much just, it's like Ableton, but it's got a lot of cool parts about itself that, like that. And I'm not plugging either one because I'm not paid by either, obviously. But Ableton. What's up, guys?
Don't worry, Studio One, I got your back.
And here's the thing. And if I was in a situation where I was sitting in a studio, or I had that, or I was doing a band, honestly, I would not use Ableton because there's certain things about Ableton that I'm just like, okay, in a recording world, could I record a band? I could.
Yeah.
But there's things that, because of their workflow, would make it a little bit harder for that type of thing. So that's where I would look at something like Studio One. And the thing, you have to pick what works for you.
Yeah, it's really... It really boils down to what your workflow is and what your type of work is. People always ask me all the time, it's like, what DAW do you prefer? I'm like, dude, it really doesn't matter. The DAW is like your tool belt. And you're going into the hood or you're going into Westlake. You know, it looks differently, but you still have the same tools. So you may not be comfortable in the hood, but you might be comfortable in Westlake. You know what I'm saying?
And vice versa.
Because familiar with the area. You're familiar with the work, the way it flows, the streets flow and everything like that. So to me, it's just, they all do the same thing. Some do them a little bit better than others. Ableton does things that some others don't do at all. But the cool thing I like about the variety that we have is that all those companies are learning from each other. And pulling in certain things like, okay, I see what Ableton's doing over here. Let me pull that over here into, Persona so that maybe I can pull some of those DJs over here into our software. So I get the software point of it, but again, it really boils down to what you're comfortable with, and what your workflow is like. And I'm a Studio One guy, but I record bands and I record hip hop and stuff like that, and I make beats. So for me, it works better. I have Fruity Loops. I haven't really made any beats on Fruity Loops yet, because I'm not comfortable with the workflow, the environment that it puts you in, and I'm just like, this is going to take me a minute to figure this out. I want to get going.
And it sucks when you're like, when you start up, whatever kind of DAW, and you're like, okay,
they just fucking changed it.
You install it, or you install it, and then you're like, now what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, now, like, I have to dive into figuring this.
Well, that was like
whole world out.
And that was like the big thing. Like, it was a like when Cakewalk happened, when I was using that and I had the synth, and then when I really wanted to expand my sound set, you were still limited by what the hardware offered.
Right.
Especially because I had a rack mount, so it's not like I had editing capabilities or performance tools. It was really more of Google this, kids. It was a Rompler mostly. So
it was hardware.
It was hardware. So, and then to add hardware to that, I had to get other things to make it all work, and then try to, so when the next software that I used was FL Studio, and great quick workflow in it, like I could load samples quickly. It was very much pattern based, but then there were things you could do to make it that way. And I had the lifetime upgrade. But I quit using it after version 6 or 7 because they added things.
So you're like, fuck that shit.
It changed the workflow, and that's when I went into Reason. And I liked Reason because Reason gave me what I always wanted, which was hardware, quote unquote. If you're not seeing the video, it's quote unquote hardware that you could wire. So I was back to my roots of having synthesizers and being able to patch them in and wire them around and do things. And then right in there, and it still had a lot of the similar things to what Cakewalk gave me, like with notation and stuff like that. But then when they changed their workflow, that's when I again I dove back into Ableton, and I looked at all of them. And it just eventually Ableton just kind of stuck. It clicked with me, and there'll probably be, a couple years from now, something will happen where I'll just be like, okay, I'm not going to do, I know Ableton. I'll, like I'm using version
10.
No, I'm using version 9 now. Because version 10's great. My computer can't really handle a lot of the newer stuff, but so I'm still using version 9. But like if a workflow thing, a really big update happens to that workflow, if it becomes a hindrance to what I'm trying to accomplish, that's when I'm like, okay, if I'm going to have to sit here and relearn something that I've known for so long, I would rather learn something new, because then I can always go back to the old thing.
Right. No, I understand, because that's the world we live in. We refer back to the machine. And now the machine has figured out a way to keep us continually buying their product over and over again, even though we have it's like, I've got Studio One 3. Why do I need Studio One 5? Well, you need, because we got all this cool new stuff in it now, and it's like
the latest update.
But I was doing fine before, making great music, but that's the.
Isn't that crazy?
That is so crazy.
It's like 1 minute you're like, I got it, and then the next minute you're like, no, I don't. Because you got the newest thing, or
and that's the thing,
latest technology.
A lot of the kids haven't experienced yet is the balancing act that it takes between your computer and the software and the updates and all that stuff. It's like when you find that sweet spot, turn your fucking internet off and your updates off, and just make music, man.
Yeah.
Do whatever you do, and don't get caught up in the game.
Yeah.
Even with live streaming, the same thing. Like, there's so much stuff that you have to like keep up with.
I was overwhelmed when I got into the live streaming thing and started these podcasts. It's like, okay, I'm an audio guy, so I got the audio down.
Yeah.
I don't have the audio down. I thought I had the audio down. I got the video down way better than I have the audio down because then I'm encountering things I never encountered before with audio, and it's a lot different. And you're right, it's just a constant learning thing. And at some point, I wish they would just be happy with the product that they make and just support the product, as opposed to just constantly upgrading the product and making you continually relearn. It phases you out of the product, in my opinion, after a while.
We're like mice in a maze, a consistent maze that does not stop.
Yeah. and that's why you got to give, Ableton doesn't, and the only reason I'm even saying that is just because that's what me and John both use. But Ableton, it's not like every year there's a new version,
right?
Or something like that. Like they'll do.
Is 11 out now?
It just
dropped.
It just dropped.
10's been out for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, it's been out for like 2 years now.
But if so I think I started with 8, and then I started with a crack version of 8, and then I got 9.
You got 9.
But then learning from 8, and then learning everything is just like you said, and just like you're saying, you're getting all this knowledge from this. And then when all this other stuff comes out, you're like, okay, well, I can skip to the latest movie.
Right.
But everything in between is, you know what I mean? Where am I going to be at everywhere between?
Right,
so
right.
the comfortability of, even, let's say, with Studio 1, if it's that whole thing, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
Definitely
you're
try
gaining
it.
so much. You're gaining all the knowledge that you're getting from that DAW, and you're kicking out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the machine right there.
Yeah.
That's your machine.
Yeah, it's my machine. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I still have a tower in my closet. It was my last computer, and that's still, I could fire it up right now. I could plug it in, fire it up, and it is.
Boom, start freaking.
And it is got Ableton 7, Reason 6, FL Studio 9. I mean, obviously these are very much out of date softwares, but the computer still runs, and I can open it up and I could comfortably go into it and use it.
Yeah.
It's like an old toy you can go back to, and it's still the same.
And and the only reason that stuff's not on my current computer is because it is obsolete software and it won't run. So so like when I'm really getting a hankering, I have done that. Just to kind of like spice up the workflow a little bit, because it does get boring when you stare at the same screen and and I have plenty of plugins to play with.
I was just about to ask, as far as plugins, are you is there a certain company that you lean towards, that you favor more than another company, or are you stock plugin guy, or are you just like a little
out of the box? Ableton's powerful for what it has,
right.
But the thing that I find lacking, there's you always have to tweak a sound, and that's the first piece of advice I give to anybody when they get a new plugin. It's like, presets are there for a reason. It's kind of like a blank canvas. Even though you're putting that sound in and trying to do that, it's still, if you just use presets the whole time, I'm not going to knock you, but play around with it.
It's a great starting point.
Exactly.
It's like it puts you in the ballpark. Like, what if I'm working with a vocalist and there's a vocal preset?
Yeah.
Then I know it's put me in the ballpark.
Yeah.
And now I got to adjust it and fine tune it for that person.
So, but like with plugin wise, Native Instruments, big fan of their synths.
I'm a huge fan of Native Instruments.
I like obscure companies.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that drives me nuts, and this is just me from the record label aspect, is every time I get a demo, I know who the hell used Serum.
Right, yeah.
I can tell who used Serum.
Right.
And I'm not, it's a fantastic plugin, but just it's
tweak the sounds.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, it's like there's always going to be that one plugin that everybody gets hype on, and the problem is like, okay, that's great. It's a great plugin. Expand on it, and that's when going back to what I said about, okay, well, there's that preset. What tweak the fucking preset so it's your own.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't have Serum. I have a lot of the Traction plugins actually. Isotope for all my mixing, mastering. Isotope is my go-to for literally almost everything.
Yeah. Ozone 9.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're a beast. Audio Damage makes a lot of fun plugins. Sugar Bytes, which is actually a company that they were a bunch of guys with Native Instruments, and because of how controlling NI is, they left and started Sugar Bytes. A lot of cool plugins from those guys.
They got free stuff?
Nope. Unfortunately.
Yeah, on Christmas Day, I was on all the plugin sites, like getting all the free plugins that they were giving away for Christmas. I must have got a couple $100 worth of plugins easily.
Yeah.
Which some were pretty cool. One thing I got to say about plugins is, and I think a lot of people don't use plugins correctly. Every plugin has a user help manual. Look at the manual and find out what the input volume is for that plugin.
We don't read manuals, America.
Yeah, you don't have to read the manual. Just look for the volume that plugin works best at. So if it's at -6 or -12 or -18, then you should know that. And if you're fucking at, you know, the plugin works best at -18 volume wise, then why are you pushing like 0 into the plugin? You're not getting the full effect of the plugin. So to me, a lot of people who are mixing, they don't get the understanding that plugins have their rules that they have to follow too. You know what I'm saying? You just can't
you just turn it on,
turn it a full blast and think you're going to get the best out of that plugin. You're going to wonder why this plugin is crap. No, you're just a shitty mixer. But no, I mean, I love a lot of the Native Instrument stuff myself. I like the Arturia stuff.
CPU hog though.
CPU hog. It's hard to run that, but Native Instruments is probably my favorite. And as far as like virtual instruments and sounds like that.
Yeah, and then my next big purchase is going to be now I just forgot their name.
Fruity Loops.
No.
There goes that potential sponsorship.
No, I got the Origin Sound's a sample company. God, what are they? Oh my God, I cannot remember their name. I got to look this shit up now. This is making me mad.
For sounds?
Yeah, no, they do insanely good plugins. God damn it.
I just did an interview a couple of weeks ago with guys
Not the Slate
that
stuff. The Slate guys pissed me off. They gave me a bunch of free shit, and then installed a bunch of shit that I didn't ask for, and it keeps popping up, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
So as far as like DJing software, is there any one particular that you use, or that's most popular? Like in the recording world, Pro Tools is the standard.
I've been using for many years is Serato, but a few years ago got into Record Box, and like completely left Serato behind and went all in Record Box.
Did you really?
Just like we were talking about with even DAWs, like. You know, when I first got Machine, and then when I got Ableton, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So with the DJing thing, like, I wanted to be versatile. If I, either or.
Right.
Because those are both basically the standards right now. As far as even Tractor also is too, but started actually with Tractor, then did all Serato, then. Recently, a couple years ago.
He's got it.
Output.
Recently, Record Box.
I was interrupting. I don't give a fuck.
And then I went back to Serato.
So when I was working at Sam Ash and learning about the DJ controllers, because that was a whole nother world for me, and learning the different softwares and the different controllers and how they work. I mean, they're basically a MIDI controller that controls certain aspects, and you get more controls or smaller, less controls, depending on how much money you want to spend.
Yeah.
But one thing I was noticing towards the end of my tenure there, and the end of your tenure there, was that a lot of it was going towards Rekordbox, and a lot of it was incorporating like a streaming into the controllers, so you're not having to bring CDs, you're not having to bring your USB hub, records or anything like that. It's just, how does that work? And have you guys used that, or with
the streaming platform?
Yeah, with the streaming platform.
Oh, with even now
is that like a subscription service that you have to pay so that you can get access to any songs that are out there?
Yeah.
And then you stream them into
Tidal and like SoundCloud and
you have
to be on the whatever their premium is, and then you're going up into wherever cloud storage. Whatever they're, I think now is even, what is it, BeatSource with Serato.
Yeah, I don't know. I have my own opinions on that whole thing, just because of the whole other end of the, with the label end of stuff. So I have a slightly varied opinion on that. So but yeah, I mean, you're looking at these. Rekordbox was coming up because the industry standard, at least in the EDM world, was Pioneer gear. That was that's the right.
It still is. Yeah,
it still technically is. So at least, and Rekordbox for file analyzation is a free software.
Yeah.
But then when they made it to where, okay, now we have Rekordbox, and that was mostly a licensing thing, because the way it works with, if you're not a DJ and you don't know how this stuff works, you buy a DJ controller, and let's say it's whatever Pioneer's, DDJ-S something. Well, the S stands for Serato. So when you buy that controller, your license for the software is in that price, and now you're in Serato.
Right.
And Rekordbox was like, well, we have our own software, and we know enough about this, obviously, that we can do that. So they went and made Rekordbox, and now Rekordbox is a performance tool. Like John uses Serato now, I use Rekordbox now for performance. But before that, I was using Torque, and most people don't even know what Torque was, but I was a Torque endorser, and that was an M Audio product. And there are features that are still in Torque that are still not available on any software that are out there, like for tempo changing, like how Ableton warps. I was able to do that warping, but kind of the reverse. I wasn't making the song fit the tempo. I was making the tempo fit the song. So I could sit there and put points where the tempo slid up. So like if I had a track that went from 70 BPM to 110, it would do a smooth transition across the tempo. So that way, if I did any looping, because it also had samples and loop players, and I could basically, it was like a combination of Ableton and Rekordbox at that point. So I was really truly performing.
Right.
I used that with a machine.
Yeah. But then Avid, the wonderful people that they are, bought M Audio, and the minute they bought them, they took all that warp technology, put it into Pro Tools, and then destroyed Synchroscience. So that's why I always give a hearty to Avid. And
gotcha. I have my reasons as well. I mean, they fucked me out of Pro Tools.
Yeah. That's a whole
the whole AAX plugin format change was a huge thing when I had thousands of dollars worth of tens of thousands of dollars worth of plugins.
Yeah.
VSTs, and then they came out with Pro Tools 11, which got rid of.
What does that do to you when that happens?
It fucks you up the ass.
I get that, but like, that's you spend so much time, you know what I mean?
Accumulating these plugins,
and like
using their software, and then they fuck you over
because
they want to get into the plugin,
yeah,
and that's it's like, okay, at least work with us, with what we have. And I guess that's what 10 was about, Pro Tools 10, because you could still kind of use those plugins, and they were introducing their thing. But when they went to 11, like, you had to commit.
Yeah.
And if you bought any of those plugins, a lot of the manufacturers, you could go back to like Waves and say, well, they're going to make an AAX plugin, but they're going to want you to buy the whole newest version of the plugin. So you're left out of the loop altogether.
It's like Mac.
So
Sorry, Mac.
So that's what made me leave Pro Tools. I mean, and the other part of it was Pro Tools was very clumsy and cumbersome, and routing took forever, and it just wasn't a smooth workflow.
Yeah.
It worked great in big studio when I had all sorts of outboard gear, and I wasn't relying too much about the inside the box.
Inside, yeah.
So it's a little bit different in that area, but yeah, I mean, in the DJ world, the only ones I really know about are like Serato and Tractor and Rekordbox and those guys. So there's not a lot of competition out there.
I just seen this thing with virtual DJ where it's like, I don't know, like the newest update on it is, I'm not shouting them out neither, but you can reverb the you could take out the, I want to say you could take out the actual,
the vocal.
Not the you could keep the vocal and then drop the freaking beat out.
It's doing so
it's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, so Virtual DJ came out with this thing where it's doing frequency analysis. And now it's like isolating.
Yeah.
It's basically what Native Instruments try to do with stems.
Yeah.
Where you could buy a song, and then if it was in stems format, so what it was is it broke those. You bought the track, but when you loaded it into Native Instruments in the Tractor, you had the vocal, you had the lead, you had the bass, you had that. So you could actually mix. You were mixing the song, but you were mixing those four elements of that song. So now Virtual DJ's doing it, but they're doing it to any fucking song.
Crazy.
Separating it like that, which is and people knock on Virtual DJ, but
yeah, I seen that. I was
pretty
like,
cool.
But like their feature set is insane, and like it's not something to knock, like, because you can guarantee Serato, Rekordbox, those guys are going to come back.
Jump on it.
They're going to be like, well, we can do it better. Yeah, and they probably will. I'm not going to say but like they took what and I did it better. And then didn't make you have to buy separate file formats to do it.
Right.
So now you're going to start seeing that come up, because that's the other element too. It's like, and here, I'll be honest, like, I'm no longer DJing. At the beginning you said, like, where am I at musically? I don't like DJing anymore. Not out professionally. Right. Unless I'm traveling somewhere or going, someplace I've never been, it's not as fun as it was anymore, because you're showing up, for me anyway, I'm not performing like how John does as a turntablist. I'm a mixed DJ. Like, my sets are 45 minutes to an hour. I'm not gonna lie, I pre-plan a majority of my sets, but I have those elements of control already planned into the set, and it's just gotten to the point for me where I'm bored.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah.
I'm playing, and even if people are really into it, it's not like it was back in the Metropolis days where I'm like going through 100 records trying to figure out the next song I'm going to play, beat matching, doing that and all that. Like, I got lazy. So a lot of that drive disappeared from that aspect. But when you hear about stuff like that, where I'm like, wait, I can make a mashup on the fly that nobody's done before. That's amazing, and that's where the machine comes back into its ugly head.
Right.
So.
Well, you've mentioned we've mentioned the machine a number of times, and
fuck the machine. No.
You've mentioned record labels a number of times. I know that you've got your own label. Is it Lotus
Lotus Mathematics.
Mathematics, yeah.
The plug.
The plug.
So, I mean...
go buy our shit.
there's different types of record labels, obviously. I mean, we have a record label here at Area 67 Music, so we
Go buy their shit.
Go buy the shit.
buy our stuff. We promote artists like Michelangelo back there, who just released Clean.
Go buy his shit.
Go buy his shit.
buy his stuff.
Go add it on Spotify.
Search for it. Get it now.
www.buyhisshit.com.
There's different kinds of labels. When it comes to your label, what did you do as far as your label is concerned? I'm sure you're putting out artists as well. It's just a different kind of artist, obviously.
So
A lot of weird, man.
there's a lot of weird shit. I have no problem admitting
That's
it's
awesome.
a lot of weird shit.
Awesome.
I'm okay. So
Weird is good though.
weird is definitely good, but so basically, like when that whole thing started, I got signed a little over 10 years ago to a label called Grimy Grooves.
Grimy Grooves, yeah.
And I was putting out stuff at that time that I thought was great, and I was, just like any other person who sits in their bedroom by themselves, I'm just writing songs, and I'm like, oh, this is great, I'm going to put it out. And a couple years in, the one owner, Brent, hits me up, and he's like, hey, I want to make you an owner. You got drive, you understand how the business works, I want to bring you on as a partner. So I did that, and one of the other partners, he started a sub-label because he liked house music. Brent liked, and he liked dubstep and breaks and stuff like that. So that was going on Grimy, and I was getting into a whole nother realm. And I mean, I came up listening to everything from heavy metal to IDM, glitch, Autechre, soundscape and found sound, and like just the whole gamut. So I'm like, well, I want to do my own thing. And so I launched Lotus Mathematics, and we'll be coming up on 6 years in August. And it started out like I had my vision. I'm like, well, it's going to be a neuro label. It's going to be just this type of music and blah, blah, blah. And it, the one thing I'll admit, it's like,
A lot of different.
now it's it's a lot of different genres. It's, we do drum and bass. We got chill hop. We got, John's doing bass music. I got a couple other bass music guys. I got UK garage and house guys. Then my stuff, which is what John probably meant by the weird shit.
Dubstep.
Dubstep. And
Somebody I know, Cy, was on
Cy-
your level. He was doing some stuff for you.
Yeah.
And he just kind of moved on doing his own stuff now, right?
yeah, he's doing his stuff now, but he was doing like cinematic orchestral stuff.
Right.
I like if the way I approach the label is if I saw something, I was willing to put it out.
Right.
And now it's kind of just this well-oiled machine that's kind of doing its own thing, and that's where it's at now. So
where can people find music from Lotus Mathematics?
we're on all major platforms for either download or streaming. So
at Lotus Mathematics.
yeah, it's at Lotus Mathematics on all social medias. And there's links that you can go to, Beatport, Juno, Apple
Tidal,
Music, Google, Tidal, Spotify, and Beatport again, and like it's out there, it's available, so go buy that shit.
Stream it.
Stream it.
I mean, it's kind of cool having your own label to be able to distribute music that you like and share with the rest of the world. And
Yeah.
I think in this day and age, a label is probably viewed a lot differently than it was 20 years ago. I mean, they're still doing the same things. They're still trying to steal as much from you as possible.
Major. Okay, thank you.
Major record labels.
Major labels, and then independent.
And then you have independent, and you have major backed independent labels, which
Yeah.
is still major labels, like Fueled by Ramen. All we see is a major record label. But I mean, everybody has the opportunity to release music and distribute it and get it onto Spotify and iTunes. All you got to do is get you an account with CD Baby or TuneCore or, you know, a number of these distribution sites that essentially do what a record label is supposed to do, is distribute your music and put it out there, collect your royalties and pay them to you, except they keep the royalties generally.
Yep. And that's kind of a good segue, because I know we kind of mentioned it when I came down here.
Yeah, exactly.
I am a record label owner that I technically own. Now I'm the sole owner of Grimy Grooves, Lotus Mathematics, and the sub-label. And I am going to be the first person to admit that I don't foresee record labels being a thing within the next decade. And all that.
Your brand is your record label.
You can now go on YouTube, learn all that stuff, go to a service on your own. Like, and I've said this, like, the advantage to me 2-3 years ago as a record label, an independent, was, anybody could get on Spotify 2-3 years ago. You could get on all these streaming platforms, but if you wanted to have DJs download your music and play them and perform them, you had to get on Beatport, you had to get on Juno, you had to do those things to really get your name out there.
Right.
Well, those services weren't really available then. Now they are. So it's, you know, it has to make people rethink, and that's one of the things, you know, that the pandemic gave me time to do. Was, okay, as a record label owner, I can continue moving forward just the way I have.
Right.
And continue doing business as I have, and have my guys send me material, and I put it out, and I get their royalties, and I collect that. But I believe in my roster, and I believe that I have extremely talented musicians and artists on my roster. So my gut, you know, with my label, I don't, you know, it still is like my pride and joy. Like how you talked about, like you had that goal of having a studio. I knew I wanted to have a label, and I was given an opportunity, and I ran with it. But, you know, with things being what they are in the world right now, you have artists who aren't touring, which is really, if you know anything about the music industry, that's how musicians truly
make their money.
Make their money is gigs, touring, merchandise. And there's still people who are out there doing it and stuff, but the industry is changing. And the people who are going to be here
are the ones who change.
Are the ones who change with it. So all I'm going to really say about what's going on is
labels.
What I plan on doing is going to be completely different come our 6-year anniversary. Like, moving forward is going to be a big change. So it's going to be for the better. It's better for my roster. It's better for me mentally. So, I'm fucking mental. So
how do you find artists for your label? Is there a submission process, or is there something that you just kind of find them yourselves and then invite them on, or what's the process
he
like?
He recruits them with candy. No,
Ooh. It's got to be some good candy.
Oh, I got the best candy. Can we edit that out so I can say it? The first release that I did was with people that I knew, and I just went to them and was like, "Hey, I'm starting a label. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I want to put out a song from it." And that's really what it was. So my first record had Tantric Decks out of Canada, Sin Eater out of Pittsburgh. Not what's his name? Gravitate, something like that. He only put out one track with me, and
shout out. What's his name?
Yeah, shout out. What's his name?
Shout out, man.
But yeah, no,
That was a good record you put out.
Yeah, it was,
That one.
Locate. That's his
Locate.
name.
Yeah, Locate. Shout out Locate.
Shout out to Locate.
Gravitate.
Well, there's a dude that I follow named Levitate. And I was listening to him on the way down here, and I'm just like, it's not Levitate. It's not Levitate.
I gotta get these names right.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'm levitating.
But no, it was. I kind of went out and started asking friends and people I knew, and then they started recommending people to me. Or I would be with someone, and they'd be playing something like, "Oh, who's that?" And they'd be like, "Oh, this is so and so," and I'd just right away be like, "Oh, I'm going to put out your music," just like rapidly grabbed as many people as I could. Just through connecting through social media and stuff. But now,
How many people are on the label now?
Actively, we have 16 people that are active.
16.
Wow, that's a lot.
Released is closer to 30.
That's a lot.
That is a lot because,
That's a roster.
That's a roster.
That's a roster, all right. I can see how you would want to take a step back and kind of reevaluate how you're approaching things. And
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I'm 40. And my youngest guy is.
I'm 21.
The youngest guy on the label, Fanaticism. He's in his mid-20s. Jeff, and then but almost everybody else is close to my age. So we're. We have families. We have some people have careers. Some people, so some people do this on the side. Some people they do it for fun. So there's a lot of different aspects. So it's like, let's just say I got a different approach to way things are going to be going.
right. Moving forward past
COVID-19.
Well, it's like what we were just talking about. I mean, you have to adapt. You have to kind of see what the changes are and kind of go with them. And record labels are gonna, like you said, they're gonna change, if not go away completely in the next 10 years. They're definitely changing.
They have to.
They're trying to figure out their way in this landscape. And from what I've seen, it's through streaming that they're trying to
Streaming numbers.
Yeah, they're getting all the money from streaming, and the artists are getting pennies, literally pennies.
Yeah.
So we see the way that they're going, but once we eliminate them, because we don't need them to distribute, and I can get Mikey's music on Spotify with no problem, and you're collecting 80% of your outside of what we pay the distributor. You're collecting 100% of your royalties. And I think that's the direction it's going to go. So a label's purpose is going to have to change if they're going to be labels.
Oh, screw it. We're not going to edit it out. I don't give a fuck because this is the way it's going.
Screw it.
Okay.
Don't edit
You
it.
heard it here twice.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. So in August, we're gonna have our we do a compilation series called The Hive.
Okay.
So we're gonna do our 6-year anniversary Hive in August, and then moving forward, I've advised my entire roster to go to these services that we mentioned and to start self-releasing. Because I want to see, I'm paying for services through the releases, and we're literally getting pennies on the dollar, even like as a label.
Right.
So when I hear that somebody who's doing, when you can go out and pay $20 a year to pay for distribution, unlimited distribution, and you get 100% of the royalties back to you, I'm now doing a disservice to my friends.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I've advised them to do that, and people will be like, well, why would a label do that? I'm not shutting down. because we're still going to release. We're going to release every 3 months. There's going to be a hive. It's going to be a big compilation of the entire roster, 1 track each.
It's just adapting.
It's adapting. And at the same time, I'm going to move from being just a record label to promoting my roster still, to where if John wants to put out an EP on his own, normally a major label would be like, fuck you, we own your soul. Because they do. I don't.
EP coming soon.
An EP coming soon. There better be. So I'm going to start using the momentum that I've built over 6 years with the help of these guys to continue promoting them, but in a way that's going to make sense for them, and in a way that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm shifting my focus from, is, not artist development, because artist development's a whole nother aspect of it. Artist development would be me telling John to stop wearing ilthy clothes because ilthy's not popular in...
Shout out to
Ilthy. But like artist development is like creating an image.
Yeah.
And then telling them to fit this image and do this and do that. I don't want to do that. I want my guys to have the creative control that they really, truly deserve.
Right.
Because every release has been like, well, the artwork's got to look like this. It's got to have this border. I want it to have that uniformity.
Right.
But at that same time, it might not be the vision that artist completely had.
No.
So I've had to kind of reevaluate the way I do stuff.
Right.
And I feel that that's kind of the role I'm going to be doing.
That's cool.
In the future.
We kind of at Area 67, when we're releasing artists, we're focused on artist development, but not in the way that you described it. Because
there's different ways. I know.
Yeah, there's different ways, and like you said, we got to adapt. And instead of us trying to, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell Mikey how to dress. Mikey's got his own style and his own flavor. I'm not trying to change his flavor. I'm just trying to accentuate it and help him with any way that I can to get his flavor to the masses.
Yep.
And build his brand. And that kind of leads us back to where we were, when we first got started today, when we were talking, is it's all about branding. And it's if labels start to understand that, they'll be really helpful for artists. But until they do,
sometimes it's in a name. Like you come up with a clever name that is how am I trying to say it? It's just the name works.
Yeah, it resonates with people.
And it resonates with people. And I think I was trying to tell somebody this the one day. They were like all about their name and everything, but then at the same time I was like, and their music was kind of towards, they were gearing towards some demographics, but at the same time I was like, but does your shit like actually resonate to people?
Right.
Are you making it, for people to, gravitate towards, or are you just making it for yourself?
Right.
Because you can be making a bunch of music that you think is cool, but is it actually resonating
Absolutely.
to the masses?
And I think that's a tough thing for an artist to figure out.
Yeah.
It's like you get into it because you're inspired by a certain kind of art or music or whatever it may be, and that kind of inspires you, and you kind of take some of that as you're guiding you to what you're doing. So you kind of similar things that they do, but you start to find your own voice eventually. And I think that's a problem, because in this day and age, everyone wants it quick. They see how quick the fame is.
Microwavable fame.
Yeah, microwavable fame. Exactly. It's they want it now, so they're skipping all the steps.
Yeah.
And that's where their heartaches are gonna come into.
Now it's like, okay, well, I'm streaming this single, right? But like, who's like from first track to end track? Who's like, I'm not gonna name any. You listen to one track, and are you gonna listen to the whole thing now?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As opposed to now, you can search, you can skip through, you can skim.
Right.
And are you making music that's it's continuous, you're going to listen to it from beginning to end, or are you going to make this like hot single number 7,
right?
And then this is what you're promoting, or
you're playing the
putting
fluff
it
game
out, and then you're so.
Well,
there's a lot of fluff out there.
There's a lot of fluff out there. But the thing is,
Speaking of fluff, do I look fat?
One thing we were saying is like, it's more about doing what you like doing. Don't try to conform to what you think others like to do.
Yeah.
Just be yourself, and your music will resonate with somebody.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody out there for your music. There's somebody for everybody, just like there's somebody for everybody's music.
Yep.
And as much as you may not like it, there's 1,000 people who are going to like it.
Every person I've ever signed, I've always, I don't know if I gave you that talk. No, maybe I did. But no, I did. The first thing is like, everybody's just like, well, what should I make? And I'm just like, just write.
Yeah, just write. Yeah.
Just write, because, I mean, shit, I've been releasing since early 2000s. No, 2010s, and I didn't see my first royalty check until 6 years in. I just put stuff out there, and then finally, like, one song, it hit, people started digging it, and then next thing I know, I had a top 10 on Beatport. And my stuff consistently was doing that for a while. And it's like, just, do what's right. Do what you like first, and then
take care of
take care of all the other shit.
Yeah, as you're doing it, I mean, after you've been in it for a while, you start to see certain formulas. You start to, see the puzzle come together a little bit clearer. And then you can make even some more personal decisions that will affect your art. You know what I'm saying? But you shouldn't go after being like, I don't want to be I shouldn't go play basketball because I want to be the next Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Because I think there's a void there, and somebody needs to fill it. So why not be me? That's going about it the wrong way.
That's like the first thing I ask. Like, if somebody's like, if they say, I want to learn how to DJ, and I'm like, well, why do you want to learn how to DJ?
Oh yeah.
And I've actually gotten some motherfuckers that'd be like, I want to do it for the clout. I'm like, well, you're probably not gonna be around that long for the fucking clout.
Clout don't mean shit.
But also, I mean, I hate to say, it is. I mean, it's 2020. Everything is clout based.
So clout is another name for brand.
So if there's no, but also at the same time, I get it, the clout, but
no, there's
talent wise.
There's a difference
talent
between clout
with
and brand.
Clout, then we're talking.
Yeah.
But just clout.
I mean, you're right. You're right. There's definitely a difference between the two.
You got your brand, you got clout, you got the talent aspect, and it's like the way you got to look at it is, as long as you got some amount of talent and you can build up somewhat of a brand, the clout will follow.
Yeah, it goes into a specific order. One can't come before the other.
Yeah,
it has to go in that order.
Because me and him will be the first motherfuckers to call you out if the only thing you got is clout.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you could be you could be the best fucking online marketer in the world. The minute I see your talentless ass fucking hit sync and start jumping around like a jackass to a pre-mixed set, I'm gonna call your ass out.
I like the sync button though.
I like the sync button.
I'll say this:
too.
I've been DJing for 20-something years, and that sync button. I used to talk mad shit, but like,
it'll save your ass.
If there's performance-wise, I mean, there are things
there are things that I have, certain songs that I have to use sync because I'm looping the intro because it's only 2 bars and then it goes into pure insanity. And like, I use sync. I have no problem admitting that. My issue is the kid who doesn't understand the other artistries of DJing and putting together a mix.
The microwave clout kid.
The microwave clout kid who is...
I see a meme for that right
the
now.
The microwave clout kid.
God damn it, edit that out so we can make one. But no, like if... he said it, I've had kids who sit there and like first time I meet them, they're going on bragging about X, Y, and Z, and then I watch them play and I'm just like, you don't know dick. Like, you don't even understand the piece of equipment in front of you and what half of it is capable of doing.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, there's this could be a whole another live stream, but like honestly, like even with, so we were talking about microwave and everything. I've been to some things where as long as that fucker's coming out of speaker,
Mm-hmm.
it's the shit or whatever.
But at the same time, I'm also going to call out the people who go to shows like that. You should be demanding better. When the shows come back, you should be demanding fucking better.
Yeah, but now, I'll say now it's all even like for how things are, like even.
Yeah, but now it doesn't matter.
You can hit some pots and pans, and boom, that's your show now. You know, in the current situation.
I'd rather see that because they're actually doing something.
Yeah.
Can that be the next one? Can we get a kid? Get that 8-year-old kid up in here with some pots and pans and let's have him fucking perform.
He'd probably kill it.
I know.
It was funny because the last time he was in here for a lesson, I remember him going out and his mom asked Aaron, was Aaron playing? And he was like, no, that was him the whole time. And she was like, that was him the whole time? She doesn't realize how good he's gotten. But he blows away most of the kids that are, a lot of the adults too. Mm-hmm. Some drummers, some people who run, I'm not going there. But some drummers, let's just say you make some drummers look really bad.
I was about to drop names and everything.
Yeah, since we're not name dropping today,
Dude, we've name dropped so many fucking places and people I didn't want to today.
You name drop. John didn't name drop. He didn't place drop.
He didn't place drop. You place dropped. I didn't name drop. I gave away my entire business plan for the rest of my fucking label's life.
I think,
and go ahead and copy it, bitches, because you're gonna have to.
You're gonna have to.
I think that now, even in the situation that we were in, and before we even started talking about everything, like even with where people need to see live music or live streaming, as a performer or as a DJ or as a band or whatever,
hang in there.
Like, hang in there also, but also at the same time, like just even with me, like, I don't want to tell you that, like, hey, if somebody's asking me, hey, you DJing next week? And I might be like, well, no, but I'm actually going to be DJing online now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, if I had to actually really say, you might not see me publicly that much anymore, but I'm going to be here now.
Yeah, but you'll get more opportunity to see.
The changing of the actual dynamic of having to having how you're performing now is drastically changed.
Yeah, it's drastic. It's not going to change anytime. It's not going to go back to the way it was anytime soon. We know that, so we have to adapt.
It's not going to go back to the way it was probably ever. And that's unfortunate. So, like, the other piece of advice I've given some people, it's like, look, concentrate on your craft.
Yeah. Get
better, work on stuff, and if like me personally, I put out a new EP in October and I have not touched music. I've been concentrating on other aspects like graphic design and things like that, taking a much needed break from that end of it because it'll come back around and I'll be able to utilize that there too. So it's like, concentrate on other things, like whether it's your writing or do you want to get into live streaming, that type of stuff. Like it's everything's changed.
Everything has changed, but that doesn't mean that it kills your passion. You just have to adapt and evolve to the new way of doing things. And if you do that, you can be extremely successful because there's plenty of people out there who were doing it before this all started, and they were really, popular, successful doing that. So it's like
I'm talking shit right now.
But it's.
But you haven't name dropped.
No, I didn't name drop. No.
But it's doable. You just have to not get discouraged or take that discouragement and transfer that energy into evolving and adapting, and you'll be just fine. It's like we've adapted here at the recording studio. Once COVID hit, almost every recording studio in town closed down. We never closed down.
That's awesome.
So we just adapted to the situation, figured out how we could still stay open and utilize that in itself as an advantage to the competition, because they're closed and we're still doing our thing. But as we did that, we started thinking of other ways to sustain the studio and continue to bring exposure to the studio. So podcasts, hosting podcasts, bringing artists in here doing music videos. We've expanded on what we've originally envisioned this place to be. Like I never envisioned when I was 6 years old that I was going to have a studio that was going to be a successful studio. I just wanted to have a space that I could make music in and call it my own studio. But then I decided I wanted to open up a studio because I worked for other places and kind of, I don't want to say I got screwed.
You got screwed.
Yeah, you kind of get screwed in some form or fashion, but if you take the whole totality of it, I learned way more than I probably would have got monetarily from the situation. So I'm thankful for those situations and going through them. But we've adapted, and now we're probably the only studio in town that's looking to expand. We're looking to move. We've been actively looking at spaces with realtors, trying to find another space, something bigger, because you can hear it behind us. We got studio number 2. We're doing a podcast. We've been in here for 2 hours. They've been banging away for 2 hours.
It's always work.
And so we're working here. We're grinding away. We're figuring out ways to bring people in, still do what we do, and expand on what we do. So, I mean, I never thought I'd get into doing podcasts or music videos or any of that stuff, but now we're doing that, and that's bringing us more clientele, and that's allowing us to help educate this new generation of artists on how they can maneuver through this crap that we're going through right now. So COVID has affected us all in some form or fashion, and it sucks. I know it's affected you guys because you can't perform the way that you're normally used to. But I was really hyped when I saw you pop online and start doing the Twitch streams. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, because I didn't get to come out to see you live. You know what I'm saying? So I was stuck in the grind working or being here, and it's like I want to come support you. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't able to. But now I can. It's another. You got a new viewer and a new a new fan, and you didn't perform in the traditional sense, and that's the beauty of it. So even though we're going through this, there's still
the best thing that actually is coming out of this though is what you're saying. Like you have to learn even through all this crazy shit. Like if you're not learning to adapt and perform and work through it and make it actually work for you, because I see a lot of people that are like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, then figure out how you can do it. You know what I mean? Or figure out ways you can do it. Figure out how you can do it in the now. You know, because tomorrow you never. I even think like now, like. Even me saying, pitching my live streams or like promoting my live streams, like I get to look at that like this is when I get to this is that now moment and learning, trying and failing and learning a bunch of stuff and racking your brain with trying to figure out stuff like doing stuff now.
You're one step closer to getting to where you want to be, as opposed to sitting there saying I can't.
Yeah,
do it.
well, yeah, like just saying and just complaining, like, oh, this has done this to me, and obviously there's a lot of things that this has affected. You know what I mean? People mentally and on a daily basis, but also at the same time,
COVID-15.
But also at the same time, like also showing us that we can figure things out during this time.
It's a character builder, and it's a great time to find out what we're made of individually.
It's like getting beat down in a fight.
Yeah,
and
are you going to get up? Are you going to continue fighting?
You're catching lumps, and you're learning from you're learning from it's the good fight.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can't go in winning them all. I'm sure Mike Tyson got his ass whooped at some point in time. And that made him become a better fighter.
Well, even before he probably was winning everything. He was probably getting beat up freaking everywhere. But then that made him stronger, and so I embrace it now more than ever, because it gives me a chance to, if somebody's like, oh, I can't DJ anymore, or I can't do this anymore. Well, I mean, why not? You can still.
Yeah, you probably have more time you ever had.
Yeah, you have more time. Yeah, you can learn.
Wait, was that a jab at me?
Oh no, not you, but just learn how to do it. You know what I mean? Because I still go to YouTube University.
Yeah, I'm there every day, man. I'm always learning something on YouTube.
Yeah.
If a new plugin comes out, I want to go on YouTube, figure it out, and, try to get on top of it before the next guy does, because I don't want to lose my business out to somebody else who has that plugin and they know how to use it.
Yeah.
So, well, let's see what we got going on here.
It's time for you to get the fuck out.
It's been a couple hours, and I think we got lots of content. And what I'm probably going to do.
You guys talk a lot.
No, I love it. I'm glad that you guys actually would sit here for 2 hours and do that.
Dude, you can keep going. I ain't going anywhere till I get that Super Nintendo.
But what I plan on doing is I'll edit this, and I'll put out the full audio and video.
Look skinnier? No, I'm joking.
I'm learning.
You have those LUTs.
I'm learning right now. I'll ask our video guy over here if he can help us out. But
next time we do this, can I wear a Green Man outfit, and can we do it in there?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be hilarious, because nobody could see me.
Or just have your face. Just your head moving around. Kind of cool.
I'm trying to get the XZ, the Pioneer XZ, not soon, but probably in the next couple months. That one controller, which is everything. It's heavy as fuck, but you could take it wherever. I'll do some shit then. Because when you were like, did you bring it?
Yeah.
Oh shit, no. Because all my shit is just like.
Yeah, I figured it was.
Set that up for it.
It would probably be yeah. There you go. He's used that though, actually, for the scratch.
Yeah.
What was it?
When we were doing the meetups, when those things first came out.
Yeah. I thought those were really cool.
$400 in the modifying.
At first, I was like, "What are these guys doing back there?" Because they didn't talk. They're just scratching and
yeah.
Hey, there's Dalo. What's going on, Dalo?
Are we still recording, by the way?
Yeah. But I really appreciate you guys coming on my podcast. I would like to invite you guys back to do another podcast and have you perform on the show, and bring some of your production value to the show, and then utilize the green screen. Maybe you can show me some tips and stuff on.
We can have John live stream, and I'll have penises floating in the background. That's my production.
Penises
up there.
Penises in the background.
It's your live stream, so whatever you
Zoom
want.
in.
Don't worry about the penises behind me. Floating.
Don't pay attention to that. But I appreciate you guys coming on to the show. If you guys could let people know where they can find you online. Find your music, find out more about you guys, find videos, whatever it is you want to share. Where can they find you online?
You first, because you're more active than I am.
I'm at JON. I do this all the time. No, I don't. I'm at JonDoeTho1 at JonDo. Okay, I'm gonna shut the fuck up. We're just rewind that part.
Yeah, we'll rewind
and
that.
then that's what
I'll put it underneath for them.
Yeah.
So they can see it.
Yeah.
Please leave it in. Dude, like back it up.
It's like, no.
And then put a question mark. Like, what?
We're not sure.
Underneath in parentheses, he's Filipino.
Wow. What the fuck?
Wow.
Just got almost 2.5 hours without bringing up race. But
he's Filipino.
You said he was Filipino 3 times.
Yeah, the Filipino
Wait,
can
did I say
he's Filipino.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did.
How am I the only one? Like, I don't remember what I said.
I'm not a nurse.
Label, but I remember this shit.
I'm not a nurse.
All right. John's hashtag and all that shit are at
My at.
JonDoeTho1 on all social media. And the reason I know that is because I'm constantly tagging the motherfucker. Mine, or the record label, is at Lotus Mathematics. If you need me to spell that out, fuck you.
I got you on that one. We'll spell it out for
We'll
him.
spell it out for him. That's on Facebook and Instagram. John's on all social media platforms.
Yep. TikTok. All that shit.
All that shit. The guy's everywhere. So,
Hide your moms. No, I'm just...
Yeah, hide your moms. Hide your wives.
Hide your mama.
Seriously, you probably should.
No.
Sorry, Coco.
Shout out my wife. Hide your moms.
I'm never allowed over to your house again. Where else? Oh, yeah, www.buyhisshit.com.
Buyhisshit.com.
That's it right there.
Yeah, that's pretty much all the tags I know. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
That's
have
all I
it.
got. That's all I got.
Well, you can find this
We're such great
podcast.
interviewees.
You can find this podcast at area67music.com. You'll be able to find it on Spotify, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever the hell they call that these days. Somewhere that Apple owns.
Apple Music.
Apple Music. All the streaming platforms, and we will have the audio video portion on YouTube and Facebook probably in 2 weeks. And we'll have some clips of different topics on YouTube also, so people can just tune in on those clips. If you want to like the clip and you like what you hear, you can tune into the whole show. And you can find us on YouTube at Area 67 Recording, Area 67 Music, Facebook Area 67 Recording Studio, and Twitch it's Mikey Vegas 67. So look for us there. We'll be bringing you some beat reviews this week. Me and Michelangelo got a beat review coming up this week, so look out for that. And if you have any beats on BeatStars.com and you want us to review them, shoot us a message and we'll listen. And we'll either like it or not. And if we don't like it, you're not going to like us. So it's all good, though.
So don't have me review that shit.
And we often have guest reviewers on, so I'd love to have you guys on reviewing with us. It's always a blast when we have a bunch of people.
Well, if you want me to review your stuff, my Venmo is
there you go,
and Cash App, or just PayPal, because that's the business account. So that's also at Lotus Mathematics.
There you go.
The first couple seconds got to be dope though.
Yep,
absolutely.
Because we'll talk shit.
Got to be dope, and you better say something along the lines of check your checking account.
On that note, actually, not on the checking account thing. Sorry, Robert, that your checking account always gets hacked into. But
wait, Robert's
checking account's been hacked into like twice this past year. So, yeah, sorry for him. But speaking of beat reviews, Timberland reviewed two of our beats, and he does a live Twitch beat review, and he reviewed one of my beats, and I got more love from him saying my name than I did from the beat. He planked it, But he listened to it for a minute, and he listened to another beat. He was really digging.
What does planked it mean? What does he?
He has if he likes it, he'll keep it, and if he doesn't like it, he has this meme of somebody walking.
Planked it. Oh,
yeah.
shit.
So he planked me. But he reviewed me and he said my name and he really liked my name. So he said that really cool and he was like, Mike Villegas.
That's when you got to sample that stuff.
Yeah, well, I have it. So I'm going to use it for my YouTube channel.
There you go.
That's awesome.
And then we submitted another beat and he reviewed it. And he was digging it, but he didn't want to hear lyrics.
Yeah.
So I submitted a song, kind of snuck that in.
Yeah.
He wasn't feeling that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of cool that you can do that these days. So.
Yeah, I watched that and him. What is it, Kenny Beats?
Beats?
Yeah.
Kenny G.
Kenny G, yeah, he does them too.
I watch all those and those,
Peace out, everybody.
They're amazing.
Hey guys, this is Mike Villegas from the Area 67 Recording Studio. Just want to say thank you for tuning in to the Area 67 podcast. Check the links down below. Find us on your social media networks. Be sure to tune in, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you get notifications whenever we're doing a show. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to check out some of our other videos up above. Peace.